Hello there, kia ora. As we get closer to the end of the nomination period for local elections, people are going to start to do some digging to find out if their candidates are kind of dodgy, even though everyone has a slightly different idea as to what dodgy is. For me, it's candidates that hide their true intentions from voters, downplaying or lying about connections to disinformation groups or promoting policies and ideologies that are straight up dangerous and claiming otherwise. We all have a right to vote for whoever we want to, but it's unfair to voters to deliberately misrepresent your views from them if those views will impact your approach to the role. So, how can you go around spotting dodgy candidates? Well, there is actually a fair few ways you can do this. Start with something like Google or even ChatGPT. They're great places to get different sorts of content that might have been removed by the candidate that they wanted to keep away from the public. A ChatGPT prompt asking for questionable actions can reveal most links mentioned in media from the past. Check out their socials. Most candidates will set up a specific page for their campaign. Start there and see if they're pushing content from dodgy sources. Some big red flags include challenging councils. They're a hard right pseudo law group that people like Murray Chong, a current councillor in New Plymouth District Council, is teaming up with, despite the fact that they are a disinformation spreading pseudo law organisation. Check out Council Watch as well. Make sure you avoid them. That's actually a Voices for Freedom group set up to push their ideologies. And
is growing the number of people that are aware of the issue and are connecting the problem and the pain with our solution.
And there's a number of local resident and ratepayer groups set up to specifically push candidates with certain ideologies that they try to downplay. Check out which media sources a candidate is into as well, because there's a range of red flags here that you can check. Reality Check Radio, they're clearly Voices for Freedom propaganda. Lobby for Good, that's also got links to Voices for Freedom and New Zealand First as well. The platform is clearly hard right in their perspective, as is pretty much any content from the Taxpayers Union, the Free Speech Union, and Groundswell. And check to see if they consider Mike Hoskins' content news or opinion, because it's definitely more one than the other, and how a candidate sees it is a good indicator as to their views and ideologies. And see if there's any local hard right media outlets that they also share. Local hard right media tends to focus on pain points for voters without context of the full situation that causes these issues. They demand action to stop something that they don't like immediately without explaining how they would actually stop it happening again or the factors that led to that in the first place, so how they can stop it from happening again. And if you want to get into the real nitty gritty, look at the content makers that they platform. Is there a reason your supposedly impartial local group with links to a known conspiracy theorist is pushing reasonable sounding content on debt from a man who posts cartoons from racist old Garrick Tremaine, vilifies Jacinda Ardern, shares sources like Hobson's pledge as though it doesn't have a clear bias, and yet they still expect the public to buy this as an objective viewpoint? And remember, an ecosystem of just one type of media backing up a candidate's ideology is a concern, because it means that they may not be willing or may not be able to see issues from multiple perspectives, which leads to worse decision-making outcomes. And depending on the media source, it can also show a susceptibility to falling for disinformation. Check to see how much their content relies on astroturfing groups linked to hard right belief structures as well, like NZCPR, Hobson's Pledge, the New Zealand Initiative. These groups also push specific narratives and often lack context on purpose to push those narratives. Now, agreeing or believing these sources isn't really the issue in its entirety. It's actually about how a candidate frames information and gives us an ability to see if they're susceptible to disinformation, which signals that there could be more hidden stuff that we need to be aware of. Check to see what other social footprints they have. A lot of candidates will choose to not have a public-facing personal content page for reasons, and there's a whole range of reasons that might be possible, but also Voices for Freedom already suggested in a seminar that they gave on June 26 to potential candidates that maybe candidates would like to take down or hide some of the more controversial takes from their personal pages, and some will. Taking a look at their personal page where possible, though, is still good research since some won't do that, and it can give you an idea as to what their priorities are. When looking at what content they put out, whether it's something like a candidate booklet or Policy NZ survey or their website, socials, remember that these are all written by the candidates themselves, and keep an eye out for red flag phrases. In the last local body election, we saw a lot of keeping decision-making local, which translated to they hated Jacinda Ardern. common sense decision making, which translated to they thought vaccines had nanoprobes, and local control of assets, which mean local is anybody who's not, Maori. Also, keep an eye out for mixed messaging. Yep, people make mistakes for sure, and sometimes they may not be able to communicate properly. Other times, it's a deliberate diffusion of details, and a little digging should uncover the truth. Finally, talk to people. Find out what you can about the candidates from others in your community. You may not run in the same circles directly as them after all, but, this is where our famous 2 degrees of separation comes in handy. Chat to friends in whānau about what they know and who they've interacted with to build a picture as to whether or not a candidate is a good fit for you, or not your cup of tea, or if they're kind of really dodgy. Most importantly though, research and encourage others to do the same. A more informed voter base leads to a more representative outcome with who they elect, which leads to better decision making for wider communities. So research and encourage those around you to do the same before encouraging those around you to also go out and get voting. Hey, thanks for checking out today's video. Make sure you like, share, subscribe so you get more updates as we go along and deal with these guys for the rest of the year.